Hello, my crafty friends. I'm Amy, the maker behind Curious Papaya. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this easy, chunky blanket. No knitting or crochet experience is required. This tutorial includes troubleshooting tips as well as information on how to modify your handmade blanket to any size of your liking. A beautiful textured blanket was exactly what my boring room needed, but I quickly discovered how expensive it would be to buy one since they typically average $100 to $200. I then thought to myself, I bet I can make that, and now you can too. For the throw blanket that you saw earlier, you will need 2 of these skeins of the Bernat Blanket Extra Thick. Joann Fabrics is always running sales, and so I actually got these for less than $40. There were 43 options to choose from, but I just decided to stick with the classic white. I feel like you just can't go wrong with that. To begin, have one of the ends of the yarn in your hand and make a loop like this. And then we're going to pull the working yarn, or the yarn that's connected to the ball, through that little loop we just made. This is called a slip knot, but what's important here is to keep the same tension when we are pulling through loops like this for the rest of the blanket. Total, I'm going to make about 28 stitches or so, and of course you can modify it as you need. Each of these loops is called a chain, and if you want to make your blanket a little bit longer, you're just going to add some more chains. And if you want it to be a little bit shorter, you will just undo some of the chains. The number of chains that you start off with in the beginning is going to be the number of stitches that you have in each row for the rest of the blanket. So for our example, we will have 28 stitches in every single row. Go ahead and pause the video and meet me back here when you are finished. Pull a loop through the last chain that we made to start the next row. A helpful tip I have is to move the ball of yarn to whichever side you are working towards. This will actually help you maintain your tension so that you have consistent stitches. Each of my stitches is about 2 inches tall, and we are going to reach in between each of these chains and pull up that loop to create the next stitch of the second row. Pause and check frequently, especially in the very beginning stages, just to make sure that your tension is even all throughout. If you ever find that one of your stitches is a little too loose or a little too tight, it never hurts to undo that stitch and to redo it again. I'm going to do a few more stitches with you in this row, and then go ahead and pause the video once again. Meet me back when you are finished. We've reached the end of this row, and now it's time to start a new one. So we're going to work the opposite direction. So again, move the yarn ball to the direction that you're working towards, and be sure to hold down the current loop before pulling up the new yarn. It kind of looks like it could be a cute textured scarf at this point, but you're going to keep on going until you have no more yarn left in this skein. As you continue to work, your blanket is going to get longer, and at this point you can start to roll your blanket away from you, and that'll really save your back from hunching over. So what do you do if you accidentally drop a loop? My loop in the next stitch over fell out, so you can see like the long bar behind it. Well, all you have to do is just pick it up as you normally do, and then proceed with the stitch from the current row. Now that we're a few rounds in, you can start to see the really pretty texture of the stitches. Okay, I want to show you guys a factory knot. A factory knot is when 2 ends of yarn are joined together by a knot. Sometimes if you run out of a skein of yarn and you need to add new yarn, this is what you might do. But in this case, it already came like this. So we're just going to knit with it as normal, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So this is the current loop I am working in. And you can see that when I go to pull up the loop, it's going to be pretty visible. But I wouldn't worry, because when we work the next loop, it's going to cover that part. And so you can just go ahead and proceed as you normally would. We are back at the stitch where the factory knot is, and I'm going to show you. So when I pull up that new stitch, you can't even see it. No way! I just finished this last round with this much to spare. 1 skein of yarn got me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rows. And now it's time to open up a new skein and join it to the blanket. So satisfying. It's so like compact. This is how I'm going to join new yarn. So you're just going to take the 2 yarn tails and tie it in a double knot. Because this chenille yarn is textured, the fibers kind of grip onto each other and it's really hard to pull apart. At the end, we're going to weave in these yarn tails, so I wouldn't worry about them. So go ahead and just proceed as you normally would. With the new yarn, you're gonna see the knot come out in just a second, and don't worry because as we work the next row, it's going to be buried. You can use your fingers to weave in the little short tail ends at the very end. We just completed our 29th row and it is now time to fasten off. How we're going to do this is insert your fingers into 2 of the loops and then pull up the yarn through both of those loops. So again, I have 2 loops on my fingers, pull up the yarn again, and that's going to create this edging. Again, go through 2 loops, pull up that yarn, and be sure to keep the tension consistent here. Again, going through 2 loops and pulling up that working yarn. You're going to do this until you reach the very end of the row. We are now at the end of the last row, and so you're going to pull up about 1 foot of yarn to weave in and then cut off the rest. Here I'm just bundling it into a little ball, and I'll probably use it to stuff one of my giant bao amigurumis. To finish off our blanket, we're going to insert our fingers through the last loop and pull up the short tail that we cut off. Weave the tail back and forth the last row that we worked on. With only a tiny bit of my yarn tail left, I'm going to secure the last bit of it down with some fabric glue. This will dry flexible and clear, and this is ideal for sealing in that edge so it doesn't come undone. This is the final look, and I could not be happier with how this turned out. In total, this only took me about 2 hours to make, which is mighty impressive. And these would be the perfect thoughtful gifts for your friends and family. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Stay cozy and happy crafting, everyone!